Aileron Robotics.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is a showcase of a fight that happened, I believe, last night. Just some background information. We are currently deploying to this area in kind of a training capacity. So we have recently restarted our corporation's major efforts. We have decided that we want to start doing more than just general roams and whatnot. In order to be able to do that effectively, we need standard operating procedures, and we need to test them. So a couple weeks ago, we built these deployment packs, or not a couple weeks ago, but within the last week or so, we've developed these deployment packs, and now we are experimenting with them and practicing with them and getting our new players used to the idea of plexing. So we kind of saw this as a deployment test. It is live, obviously. We're in low sec, so people could come and kill us. But we've been basically trying to get our players up to speed while simultaneously doing support in defending the southern side of the war zone, which has traditionally been Aileron Robotics' proving and grounds that we defend. So here we are. We've kind of taken over these areas, and tonight we ran into a small fleet. Oh, you see that Bifrost? That Bifrost is going to factor in here in a few minutes. But so as we're doing plexing within these 3 or 4 systems, a group of Escalating Entropy came into our AO, and we decided to upship to our rogue squadron. This was the first time we deployed with actual, like, real fleet ships. So we had our standard Vexor gang ready to go. So we decided to upshift into our Vexor gang. We had 2 logistics, 2 executors. I am one of them. Nigel is the other. And a clutch of, I think, like 4 or 5 Vexors. So with that, we were going to engage a small Escalating Entropy gang, including a Confessor, a Stabber, and it sounded like a smattering of other things, including 1 logistics, specifically the Tech 2 Minmatar logistics cruiser, the Scythe Scimitar. I can never tell which one is which. Scimitar. That's right. So right now we are maneuvering to try to find the enemy fleet. The enemy fleet took out one of our scouts, so we're kind of wandering around in that area to try to figure out exactly where to pin it down, and that Bifrost was from the enemy. At this point, you see that I'm trying to set up on this gate because I didn't know what exactly... we don't know exactly where the enemy is, so they could come at any time. So as a logistics, I burn up to get away from the fight. If the fight... Oh, but the FC just ordered us to jump. So, of course, I have to burn back, which puts me a little bit behind. I let my FC know that, and we carry on. It's really important for logistics to be well-positioned in fights. If you get caught with the rest of the group and the enemy is a good brawling team, they can neutralize your logistics very, very quickly. And if they can do that, then the rest of the fleet that is designed to operate with logistics kind of crumple pretty quickly. So, as you can see, we have 3 Vexors and an exec going out. I think we had a couple other people that are around. And our intel is trying to watch where Escalating Entropy is maneuvering. I noticed that we have a lot of people in local, and I start looking through and see that many of them are Escalating Entropy, push that information up. And so we're monitoring at least 2 or 3 small groups of Escalating Entropy operating, probably in tandem with each other. So we crash the gate to be ready to fight. So again, one of the things that we're trying to do at this point is we've just expanded our membership quite a bit. Aileron Robotics has been recruiting, and this was our first major operation to see what we can do. There's a Tengu in that Bifrost, but by warping away, we thought that we saw where they were going. So he ordered people to warp to Oleta. However, almost immediately, our intel came in and told them that he was on the Melmanil gate. Murthin, in Murthin. So now that we have eyes on some of our people, we're getting intel in. So there's kind of a bit of a mix around as we're trying to get reacquainted. Also, there was a Stratios on the opposite gate, so those people that warped away could have potentially have been grabbed by that Stratios. So at this point, we're a bit off our footing, which sucks, but it is what it is, and that's one of the problems with bigger ships, right? So that's why the bigger the ships, the easier it is to outmaneuver them. Right now, we're actually vulnerable because our fleet is split into two different spots. If the wrong series of events have happened, this could have gone very, very poorly. So here we go. We're about to land on where we suspected the enemy was, but then we heard in mid-warp that they had moved on to the other one. So at this point, we're rather certain that not only have they scouted us, but they are trying to capitalize on our misstep by attacking the guys who went to the wrong gate. So we immediately attempt to warp back, but the Bifrost arrives. We get orders to tackle the Bifrost, but then the Bifrost jumps, and we know that it is game on. I immediately cluster up, and what we have now is 3 Vexers and 2 Executors on grid. I lock up everybody and deem that this is basically where the fight's going to happen. So comms kind of go crazy, we coordinate, and at this point the fight is on. I attempt to anchor on the FC. We didn't quite coordinate about anchors and whatnot because it was fairly quickly thrown together and there's only 2 logistics. So I have to have faith in my partner logistics member. Additionally, if you notice, I only put down 2 reppers. I am unsure of the danger at the moment, and therefore I want to keep a repper in reserve. And in fact, once I see that repper is holding, I actually drop it to keep 1 repper on, which I call a maintenance repper. So I don't really know what's going on right now. Not very many people are taking damage. I have everybody locked up. I have 1 repper on the guy that's taking damage, so that way, just in case something is happening to him, I can counteract that. And I'm just kind of getting ready. I know that my Griffin is probably the most vulnerable person out of the whole thing, so I want to be ready to go with that. As members land, I'm locking them up until my target limit. However, I know in my fleet I have more people than I have ability to target, so I just know that I'm going to have everybody targeted. And in fact, I notify my fleet this because I pretty much have it under control. They don't need to broadcast. They don't need to worry about that at all. All they need to worry about is fighting. I noticed that my friendly Vexer is actually healed shield damage, which means literally we're receiving no incoming damage from the enemy, probably because of the fact that we have that Griffin that's jamming. So we managed to scout them out and saw that most of their forces are Mimitar, and now you're starting to see that damage come in. They've opted to go a little bit after my Vexer and a little bit after my fellow exec. And it looks like most of the damage is going to go on to the exec. That's important because if they feel, again, as I've said in the last on-grid podcast with logistics, if you can take out the... Oh, right here, let me interrupt. They start going after my Griffin. My Griffin, I know, is in trouble, so I inform him that he's in danger. I throw on what reppers I can, but these frigates go really, really quickly. He wasn't armor fit, so he goes down. So I immediately refocus my attention back onto the people that I can save, and I notice that the exec is taking more damage. The Vengeance, also a frigate, but this one's an armor frigate, so I'm slightly more confident that I can keep it alive. I throw my counter-cycled reppers. This is really important. So I can rep pretty much the entire health bar of a Vengeance. So when I put them down, I put them counter to each other. So that way at any given time, there's a cycle coming up. But at this point, my fellow exec is actually going down. So I pull more reppers off of the Vengeance. It was kind of a risk. I've left 1 maintenance repper on the Vengeance, but now I'm actually actively trying to switch all 3 of my reppers over to my friend, because I know that if he dies, then I'm next and I have nobody to repair me. So everything has to go to Nigel. So I have all 3. I kind of goof up trying to get the reppers switched over, but eventually I get it. One of the big keys is if you can't remember which one is which, you can actually click on the repper as it's shown underneath the target panel, which automatically cancels the repper on its next cycle, and then you can set it up to be going on the next one. He's in low structure. I have all 3 reppers overheated. This is the absolute maximum capacity. The only mistake that I made at this point was that my repper drones were not put out. If I had repper drones on him, I probably could have gotten them on him and gotten a little bit more repair. But overall, I have everything I possibly can thrown on him, and I'm both webbed and scrammed. If you notice at this point, my capacitor is getting down to below that 33%, which means I'm now losing capacitor or I'm past the peak recharge, so my recharge isn't helping nearly as much as when I'm 33%. So I'm trying to hit that battery as much as I possibly can to keep my capacitor up. All my overheated reps. My partner is in low structure, but I've managed to keep his defenses up. The enemy is trying to break the Scythe, but the Scythe has got a strong local tank. They can't seem to get it. However, at this point, they've started to get fed up with this, and they've realized that there's a lot of damage going onto the Hurricane, and the FC has realized that the reason why there's damage going onto the Hurricane is not because of splash damage, but because of the sentry guns. And because we knew that the sentry guns were important, were an added advantage, the FC thankfully takes this opportunity to call the Hurricane as the new primary target. I am now caught with a web, and as you can see, my capacitor is starting to drain out. Correction. Right now, they have realized that the Hurricane is the target, or is the target of the gate guns. But at the exact same time, the Hurricane decided to start nuding me. So now I'm losing capacitor from the Hurricane, plus barely being able to hold on. I've warned my friend Nigel that I can no longer overheat. I'm now getting to the bare bones bottom of my capacitor. My cap charger reloads. I managed to bust it in, get a little bit more capacitor. I can keep my cycles going. I can keep Nigel alive just barely long enough. I'm still being nuded by the Hurricane, and now my cap booster has gone back into reload, but they are slamming into the Hurricane. The question is, who gets to kill it first? And the answer, thankfully, is that the Hurricane just died. My nute breaks. My capacitor booster comes back up. I managed to get my reps back online with the primary DPS taken off the field. The Executor manages to get saved, and I pull Nigel out of the fire with less than 20% structure. This right here is why you fly logistics. This is what kind of level the game can come from. If you find that FCing, or if you find that flying in the fleet and just hitting F1 and doing DPS, if you can find that boring, guess what? There are other roles in this game, and they can be just as intense. Logi piloting is incredibly rewarding. As you can see, Nigel and I, already good friends, but even if we weren't, he would remember who I was, because he knows exactly how much effort I put into that. Likewise, our FC has just asked us how much we lost. I mentioned one Griffin, and we were very, very excited because we managed to get several good kills and only lose a single frigate. That is the power of logistics in fleet. That is the power of really good piloting, especially with good capacitor management. Interestingly enough, I actually kept my sensor booster off for most of that, and I actually had my afterburner off for most of that too. The reason why is because it was a fairly tight place, and I had everybody pre-locked. So all of that capacitor that could have been used to do those things were not used, saving me up some stuff. And that's about it. That's how much of a difference, and that's how tight, and that's how great of a feeling it can be to be a logistics pilot in EVE Online. So I encourage you all to continue to learn about this game. If you want to know more about logistics piloting, I just put up an on-grid with Elise Randolph, one of the leaders of Pandemic Legion, a really bright dude, and Mike Azariah, who is a former CSM member. He works in HiSec with the Magic School Bus and a big-time Logi in Incursions. And if you want to know more, go ahead and check out that. I will put the link in the doobly-doo below. Besides that, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for everything. Please like, comment, and subscribe. My question for you today is, are you logistics? What is the craziest event or who is the most thankful that you've ever had when it comes to logistics? Because really, that's what I like about logistics. I like about the fact that I may not get kill mails, but I get honest to God human beings that are thankful because I was able to keep them alive. I was able to be their savior. So if you are logistics, why do you like logistics? And if you're not logistics, what do you do and why do you like doing it? That's it. And until next time, I'll see you in space.